Alrighty, welcome back to another episode of the College Baseball Show brought to you by Just Baseball Media. We have a very awesome Coach's Corner here for you today. We have the head coach of the national champion winning LSU Tigers. Coach, how are you doing today?
Doing great. Great to see you guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We're really excited to have you on. We're just going to dive right into it. We've had you on the program before. We've kind of shared your journey through coaching. But for you, just take us into that national championship run last year. Talk about everything that kind of led to that season. It was your second in 3 years, just an awesome, incredible run. But yeah, just talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, special team. I
Yeah.
think from the first day, first meeting, August 25, whatever that is, I think our team last year handled like a full calendar of college baseball as good as you possibly could. It was a unique team in the sense we only had actually 12 players that had played for us in 2024, but those were the right guys. I mean, some really strong foundational pieces. And then we nailed the recruiting thing last year with the freshman class, and then the transfer portal window was really critical for us last year, and we hit on ability and character and had the right collection of talent, and that talent really became a team, and their hallmark was consistency. I mean, we had a speed bump at Auburn where we got swept, lost 3 tough games, like close games, well played games against a great team, in Auburn. But other than that, like it was a remarkably consistent start to finish effort, and had great confidence, going into Omaha because the mindset was so good. We'd been prepared. We'd gone through adversity and come out the other side of it. We'd been consistent, and really the mindset of that team is something that I'll remember, forever. And very, very proud of those guys. And we actually started talking about it a little earlier than normal. It's just a place like LSU, like unless you win the last game, people forget about you. And I didn't know if we were ready to handle that, but a lot of the players, come back to that and say like, now we're a forever team, and makes me really proud.
Yeah. Coach, one thing that you talked about in Omaha that I really wanted to touch on too is having that 1-2 punch of Kade Anderson and Anthony Eyanson. And I think the one thing that impressed me every time you watched them out there was just the composure that they had on the mound, right? It wasn't even just the abilities that they had. Of course, they're both first round type talents at the pro level, but it was just like the composure that they brought, the mindset that they brought to the mound every single time with them. Just what was it like to be able to coach those guys and watch them go out there and compete every day?
Yes, I've never had that before, to be
Yeah.
honest. A 1 and 2 that were that consistent from start to finish, and sign me up for that every single year. I think, having Coach Yeski, who in my opinion I mean, he's probably the best pitching coach in college baseball history right now. When you think about number of programs he's been to Omaha with, a couple national championships, not just big leaguers, but all stars and success. And he was very high on Kade early, and Kade had a good freshman year for us. We started him on Tuesday most of the year. We started using him out of the pen and super high leverage situations in the postseason in 24, and how he attacked, like once the season was over to opening day, you could really see it coming. Like it was a ace in the making. And I mean, that's 4+ pitches, and being on the offensive side of things, man, it's really hard to plan against a guy that could do that many things successfully, because he has an answer for everything. Solid hitting skill guys, power guys that handle certain pitches. Like he can pivot, quickly. And so he was so consistent, and I thought it was fitting. He threw a shutout in the College World Series finals, and everybody in the world got to see what we saw every Friday last year. And I mean, outside maybe the strikeouts, had a very similar season to Paul Skenes a couple years ago. And, I'm super proud of him. He'll be in the big leagues quickly. I know the Mariners reached out to me immediately after they drafted him, and like, we can't believe this happened. Like, I mean, this is who we wanted all along. And I mean, lucky us. And then after the postseason, one of their high ups texted me and said he will be here very soon. So he's a big league pitcher. We had another big league starting pitcher, going for us on Friday. And then I'm really proud of Anthony. How we ended up getting him was very unique. And I could tell on the first phone conversation, after he went in the portal, I mean, I already liked the pitching stuff from our evaluating, Jamie Tutko digging into the analytics stuff, Coach Yeski, peer evaluation. I know he'd had success, but just talking to him on the phone, you could hear a different energy about him. And like, this guy's going to get the most out of whatever he has. And we liked what he had. And so that was awesome. And there was a real turning point for him. I always like sharing this story. We were 6 starts into the year. We lost a Friday game at Texas. It actually was our first. We'd won 17 in a row. And he was going pretty good. And then we were having a hard time, like that third time through the order, which that's going to happen when you play really good teams. And so we stayed up, myself and Coach Yeski and Jamie Tutko, till like 3 a.m. We actually probably lost the Sunday game too, because I made us stay in there and talk about it and kind of fix how we were going to shift, how we were going to call the game for him and utilize him. And I don't know that I think he lost one time after that. And just a warrior, man. Like he'll all go down as one of my, not just my favorite pitchers, but one of my favorite players of all time.
Yeah, I mean, Coach, we've talked about it before. We talked about it in Omaha. You guys continue to just kind of get these new group of leaderships in. So taking what you did from last year into this team that's coming back and these guys you have coming back, talk to us a little bit about how you guys continue to have these player leaders that just step up. I mean, you've had guys that are vocal guys. You've had guys that show you how to do things on the field. How do you get this just range of leaders and just continue that leadership that breeds what LSU is all about?
Yeah, I appreciate that question and the recognition of that, because it's certainly something that's by design. It's no different than if you're trying to develop a pitch, a swing, a hitting approach. Like, you have to be intentional about how you're going to do it if the player or players are going to catch it. And, culture is a buzzword. I don't use it a whole lot, but you have to be intentional about building guys as leaders, building guys as great teammates. And the first part is picking the right guys. And, fortunate we're at a really good place that really good players want to come to. And so part of their weapon or superpower is confidence. And confident players are usually a little more comfortable, stepping into leadership roles. And, we talk about, kind of that theory of the All Blacks, rugby team of leave the jersey better than you found it. And like, we want these things to be transferable. And in this day and age, it is not easy. It is not easy. And it took us a little time, transitioning from 23 to 24, to nobody's fault. It just, you had 13 players drafted. Like, that was an SEC record. And you have 4 like exceptional leaders walking out the door. I mean, everybody talks about Dylan Cruz and Paul Skenes, but I mean, Gavin Dugas and Cade Beloso, I mean, those guys were like men, like men. Like, I mean, it was like the perfect example of player leadership. And there was nobody to replace that. And guys certainly were trying, but it took them a little time to get it, get their feet underneath it. And then those players that returned from 24 used both of those experiences really well. And a guy like Jared Jones last year, I'm so proud of him, just the growth not just as a player, but as a person, as a leader. And Kade Anderson, we mentioned, Anthony, we mentioned. When your best guys are, stepping into those roles, it really does a lot for your team. And so now these guys got an opportunity to see that. And, a guy like Jake Brown comes to mind for this year. I think he's probably one of the more underrated players in the country. It won't surprise me if he's one of the best players in college baseball this year. A guy I think's really poised, to do that. Kason Evans, Cooper Williams, on the pitching side of things, really benefited from being around Kade and Anthony and are trying to transfer that down. But it takes a lot of work, and every team's different. And if you don't reset it every year, you're going to fall short on that. And you just have to be intentional about building it.
Yeah, Coach, and I kind of wanted to build off that a little bit, just talking about the upcoming season. And like you said, you have to replace a lot of big names like Kade Anderson, Anthony Eyanson, Jaron Jones, Daniel Dickinson, like 13 guys drafted. It's a lot to replace. But you have a lot of big returners coming in. You mentioned Kason Evans, who I think is a guy who would probably easily step into a rotation spot. William Schmidt last year, who pitched a lot as a freshman. And you had a really good transfer portal class. So you got guys like Zach York and Cooper Moore, Trent Caraway, all these guys. what have you seen from a lot of the new faces this fall?
Yeah.
And what are some of the expectations for next year?
Yeah, no, I'm laughing just like as you're talking through all of that and how it all kind of comes together. We're probably a little better positioned this year than we were coming off of 23, with, Stephen Milam back at shortstop. You have the entire outfield back with Derek and Chris and Jake. And then you have a couple other guys that did play a lot. Kade Anderson was like our 1B catcher and probably had the best fall of anybody on our team, and think he's poised to be a breakout player this year. Tanner Reeves, played, kind of platooned at third base last year. And then, it was a weird summer, man. We got crushed in the draft with our high school guys. Like Major League Baseball, they just have too much money right now. I knew as soon as I saw those bonus pools come out, like it was going to be a tough draft for the Tigers. Maybe not the Detroit Tigers, but the LSU Tigers. But I thought we planned well, we strategized well, and immediately when it was over, and we were sweating it with these guys too, but we were able to get Cooper Moore, Zach York, and Trent Caraway all within the span of 24 hours. And that helped, because there were some holes like that we had to fill. Those guys have transitioned really well. When you talk about Cooper Moore, I think he'll definitely be in position to be a weekend starter this year. He's competing for it, but we'll have a chance to do that. And then, Zach had a terrific fall and, is a perfect style of hitter that I like. Fits nicely around those other pieces. Trent, excellent at third base defensively, and we're making some swing adjustments, but we're replacing 3 of the 4 infielders, so his versatility will help. And then a couple other guys, Seth Dardar, Braden Simpson, excited about those guys as well. So we feel like we complemented it well. And again, though, every year I think it's about the improvement of the guys that you've already had in your program. So you mentioned William Schmidt. Had a good freshman year. He just came in with such high expectations. I don't know that anybody was ever going to meet those. But, he was 7-0. Like, that's pretty good to me. He pitched in a regional. He pitched in a super regional, So he had a great fall, though. Excited about him. I mentioned Cooper Williams. So I like where we're at. I never get too excited, though, in the SEC, man. Like, you start looking at some of these fall reports that people write about teams, you're like, man, how are we ever going to win a game?
Yeah. Taking a little bit, Coach. I know that going from that season, you win in 23, 24 is not the season you were hoping for to end. Like you said, if LSU doesn't end in Omaha with wins, it's tough. What do you take from that team into this year's team where you go, it's hard to get there anyway?
Yeah.
Now we're doing it again and 2 years later.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question. And, I probably had more personal gratification and satisfaction from the 24 season of any year that I've ever coached. We landed on this hellacious schedule. Like, we went to Mississippi State. They were very talented. They had like 3 dudes drafted in the top 50 picks. And that place is crazy. There's 12,000 fans, and they beat us 2 out of 3. Then we're playing Florida, who we had just beaten for the national championship. They beat us 2 out of 3. Then we got to go to Arkansas, which I still haven't won a game there. So, we get swept there. We lose 2 out of 3 to Vanderbilt, and we get swept at Tennessee, who ends up winning the championship. And so we're sitting here at 3-12. But if you looked at who we played, and it was like, man, this feels crazy, maybe because it's LSU and we're coming off a championship, but it really wasn't. And so nobody panicked. We all remained positive, very optimistic, kept working, kept it one game at a time. And I think we won like 23 of our last 29 or something like that. And we're a drop fly ball from probably going back to Omaha again. So I think we used that experience well for last year. Now, as you say, coming off of the championship thing, it's time to turn the page, and I was a little less like pushy on that this time. I felt like last time I was so pushy on like, hey, like, let's get on to the next thing. This year we enjoyed the things that came along with it. We got to go to the White House. We had a ring ceremony. I want those guys, a forever accomplishment. And then we just tried to be responsible about when we're preparing for this year, we're all in on this year. And they've done a good job of that. And, the guys that are going to be foundational in this thing. They've been through it. Stephen Milam and Jake Brown, they played a lot as freshmen, played all the time as sophomores. They know how hard it is to win one game, in college baseball or in league play. So I don't think anybody's taking anything for granted. And if they are, about 3 to 4 practices into spring practice, they'll be right back to reality. I'll make sure of that.
Coach, one question I had for you, because this is kind of more of an interest to me in how you kind of navigate this process. But as you're pushing to try to win that national championship last year, you're kind of watching teams get their transfer portal classes and things like that into place. How do you, I guess, on a day-to-day manage, like, one, focusing on trying to win that national championship, and then two, trying to pull together a roster for the next season?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's the problem I say that I want to be signed up for every year.
Yeah,
be in Omaha and worry about trying to catch up time. I think I noticed something my first year, good season, but we weren't in Omaha, but we were really able to strike during that time. Like we got started with Paul Skenes. He didn't commit till the end of the summer, but we got it started. We were able to get Tommy White. We were able to get Thatcher Hurd. We were able to get Christian Little. And I thought that really propelled us like the next year. So then in 23, when we went back, I was like, hey, we can't fall behind just because we're there. And it's intense. You have to carve out some time during the day. Like everybody asked me about Omaha, and I'm like, I'm glad everybody else has a great time, because like from the time we land until that last out is made, like I don't remember anything. I'm literally working the whole time, whether it's preparing the team, going to practice, scouting, recruiting, having Zoom meetings with guys. And I thought we did a good job. We were able to secure the first time Gage Jump, Luke Holman, those guys. It's crazy. Like we're getting ready to play Florida for the national championship, and we're both recruiting Colby Shelton. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, what is going on? I'll take the title. I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'll take the championship, and they were able to get Colby Shelton. But it's just, you kind of learn like this is the way that it is and the way that it's going to go. And then you go back, we're not there in 24, and thank God, because that time I was able to get Zach Cowan, Luis Hernandez, Danny Dickinson, Anthony Eyanson. Like, just it was a full-on effort. And then this year I was laughing, like I was so locked in on winning it. And then we beat Arkansas, so we had 2 days between the finals, which was great. So the next morning, I literally woke off that crazy game. I woke up and there was like a little man-made lake around our hotel. I literally just started walking laps and just calling everybody we needed to talk to. And I didn't do very good because a couple of them committed to other schools immediately after I got off the phone with them. But now we were able to get a few of these guys, Zach and Trent, and laid the foundation for Cooper, another group we're excited about.
Yeah, I mean, talking about a guy that both Jared and I have talked about and have big preseason expectations for, Derek Curiel. Just to talk a little bit about his involvement in moving to center field, and just this guy's a tremendous athlete and should be on more radars for a Golden Spikes award.
Yeah, he's a great player. I mean, it's a really cool story. I mean, I started recruiting him when he was like in 7th grade. We're all locked up in COVID, and I don't know what to do with my time. I'm trying to exercise and get in shape, but it's like I'm sitting in my home office and just scrolling the internet, and this little skinny 7th grader, like you see him swinging the bat and you're going like, whoa, like that's different, man. So Andy Zavorik is a friend of mine. He was his travel ball coach at the time, and we were talking about a few guys, and he got me in touch with Derek and started building a relationship, then. And I was actually very confident, like, that we were going to get him at Arizona, had I stayed at Arizona, because we just hit it off, and he was all baseball, and, perfect Jay Johnson player, if there ever is one, is Derek. And he's super talented. He loves baseball. His focus level and competitiveness together with that talent, I think, really separate him. As far as the center field thing, he's always been a center fielder. I just made the decision last year, like, hey, man, this guy's going to bat 1 or 2 in the order as a freshman, go through all this tough SEC pitching. Like, I just made a decision to, like, take it off his plate last year, with the plan always to move him back there this year. we were surprised that we got Chris Stanfield back. I mean, what a blessing that was. And so they're just flip-flopping. They're really good buddies, really good friends. Like, a lot of people have made it's really been nothing. It's like, hey, this is what we're doing. Everybody on board, go, and not much is going to drop out there. In my opinion, throw Jake Brown into the 3 center fielders playing the outfield this year.
Yeah, Coach, that was another guy I was going to ask you about after Mark just talked about Curiel. But Chris Stanfield, I feel like, is a guy that doesn't get enough attention for how good he is at baseball. Watching what he did in Omaha and just watching what he did over the course of the season, you can see the leadership traits that he kind of exudes every day. You can see how much he just goes out there and wants to make things happen. Just talk about what he's been to your team as well.
Yeah, I'm very close with him. I love him. It was very interesting how everything works out. So my first impression of Chris was when he was at Auburn as a freshman. He got 2 hits off Paul Skenes on Friday night, and we won the game 3-0. So again, Paul and I think Thatcher Hurd like combined shutout, but like this little leadoff guy, I mean, he got 2 hits and he's standing in the box and he's competing. I'm like, man, we got to deal with this guy for 2 more years after this. Like, that's where my head goes, and stuff like that. And then the next year, he didn't have a very good season, but I could never get the athlete and the competitor of that first impression out of my mind. And it's one of those, you just kind of go with your gut. Like, no, we're going to go get this guy. Like, I want this guy on our team. I think we can help him offensively, and what he brings to the table as far as athleticism, enthusiasm, competitiveness. Like, we need that. This team needs a Chris Stanfield. So we had to recruit him hard. I mean, everybody wanted him, in the league, and very fortunate to get him. And I mean, we went right to work, and we don't win that championship without him. I mean, he maybe the best 9-hole hitter in the country. I mean, he had no business hitting in a 9-hole, to be honest with you. That's just, one of my weird coaching things. And if we started him all, he'd probably bat leadoff for the season this year, and excited about him. And I was the one that was the last to come around, like he might actually come back. I'm like, this guy led the SEC in doubles, and he's a true center fielder. Like, there's no way he's coming back, and I'm glad I was wrong.
Yeah, Coach, being around your team, in Omaha in the last few years, and just seeing the competitive nature that you guys bring day in, day out. This team is ultra competitive with all these players you have, and the guys that you've brought in are ultra competitive. Do you ever have to get them to take a step back and maybe just slow down a little bit? Because it feels like they're top notch all the time from morning to sunset.
Man, that's a great compliment. Thank you. And the answer to that is absolutely not. Like, I want it spilling over all the time, and like it's our identity, as a program. Like, if you want to talk about core values or pillars of our program, it's pretty simple. It's fundamentals, compete, and character. And so the middle one is kind of in, the middle of your body. Your heart is the competitive nature of it. And, you really see it in a guy like Derek. I mean, that's what makes him him. You see it in a guy like Jake Brown. You see it in Chris Stanfield. I mean, Daniel Dickinson last year. Like, I mean, it's one of my favorite. I only had him for 1 year, and it's easily one of my favorite players I've ever coached in my entire career. So it was really a model team, and we're not going to win every game that we play, but the compete part of it is, if you were to show up and watch us play, you would never believe that it's more important to win the game to the team we're playing than it is to our team. And I think we've lived up to that pretty good.
No, I love it. Coach, the one question I have for you before we jump into some more fun questions here is just the trip you all got to take to the White House, and kind of what that means, not just for you all, but just for college baseball in general, right? You're the first college baseball team that gets to go to the White House and to celebrate the national championship. But just what does that kind of encapsulate for you and just mean for the growth of college baseball?
Yeah, I thought that was awesome. And it was not as cool as actually winning it on the field. It was not, I'm going to qualify that, but it was probably the next coolest day of my life. And I remember we won in 23, and I thought we were going to get to go because our women's basketball team had won the championship and they got to go. Mm-hmm. And it just didn't happen. I'm not a politics guy, so I don't know what or why. And I was super disappointed. And then the next morning after we won this time, one of our ADs called, and very connected guy, and goes, "Hey, do you need anything? What's going on?" I was like, "Well, now that you mention it," I was like, you gotta get us to the White House, man. Like, these guys earned it. He's like, all right, I'll get on it. And then it was kind of like, you're going, you're not going. And then all of a sudden we were going. I mean, and then like, let's get a plane, let's go. It was unbelievable. And just, I'll tell you, my favorite part of it was, you win a championship like that, and then everybody leaves. They go to pro baseball and on to the same thing. And it's part of the nature of the beast. But to like get everybody back, get our championship rings, and then get on the plane and take like one more trip all together, like that was easily the best part of the whole thing.
Yeah,
I love it. Mark, you want to kick off the fun questions here?
Of course, always. Coach, listen, three of us, we're all big baseball. That's what we do. Live, breathe, love baseball. But what if it wasn't baseball? What would you do? What would be the go-to?
Oof. Glad I haven't had to consider that. I was a better football player than I was a baseball player, actually. And my dad was legendary high school track and football coach. So I love football. I love college football. I'd probably just be, in the building over. I don't know necessarily at LSU, but I tried like to be a business major for like 10 minutes. And then I was like, this is not happening. I'm definitely going to coach. So really haven't considered, much of anything else.
You and me both on the business major. I was for like half a semester. I lasted, I think.
Not happening.
Yeah. We had Skylar Mead on. He said he would have been a storm chaser. So it seemed like it fits.
Oh, I got you. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Coach, next one I got for you. We got to talk about it because Paul Skenes won the Cy Young Award this year. Do you have a favorite Paul Skenes story from your time?
I just love him. I thought he would be a first round pick. Obviously knew he would be a weekend starter for us. I would be lying if I said I thought he was going to turn into the best pitcher on the planet. You don't see that coming. But in our recruitment of Paul, the person, like, you had a really good sense of how solid he was. And, take the baseball contribution out of it. Like, I felt like our program really needed to inject Paul Skenes into it. And so I remember going to see him in Colorado Springs, and I flew in, and we were going to meet at this restaurant. I was just parking, and I looked up, and like I could see him walking. I was like, God, this guy is gigantic. And then he was a two-way player, as everybody knows. And so we're sitting in this restaurant, and I got this presentation on my computer, and we talked way more about hitting than about pitching. And he would have hit 25 homers for us, like, just to totally qualify that. It just, man, every time he was in the box, I was so nervous somebody's going to lose a fastball and hit him on the hand. And so we didn't really do that. But my favorite part of Paul was we would usually meet on Sundays briefly, and he would throw like 7 innings, 13 Ks, 3 hits, a run maybe. And all he would talk about is everything he was going to do better this week than he did last week. I was like, feel free to do that again. Just the dude's got it going on, man, in every phase. He's not just a great pitcher. He's a phenomenal human being.
Yeah, great person, great competitor. Just awesome to be around him that year, Coach. And, game day. Any food rituals? I know I've talked about this. For me, it was always Red Vines and Diet Mountain Dew, and I had to use the same Pilot G2 pin to write my lineup every single day. So don't know if there's any special rituals you got around food or any things.
Yeah, no, I am embarrassed to say this, but last year, like, I don't know, like, we had a bad loss probably, and that's when I'll eat my feelings, definite weakness. And so, like, I just ordered Taco Bell. Like, I hadn't had Taco Bell in like 20 years. And, we played our best game of the year after that. And so, like, for the rest of the year, like, once a week, I was like Uber Eatsing Taco Bell. And that will not carry forward into this year. Let me be very clear about that.
Wasn't it Justin Verlander who had Taco Bell before every start, I think?
Yeah, he was pretty good. So maybe there's something to this Taco Bell thing.
Love it. Last one I got for you is that, so you're constantly recruiting, you're constantly coaching. What are some of the passions you have outside of the game?
Yeah, I think I live a pretty simplistic life. Got a great wife, Maureen. And so usually we're just spending time together when it's not baseball. And there's a lot of sacrifices that go along with coaching at this level and trying to do it like this. So it's usually just hanging out with her and resting. I like to sleep. A lot of people are like, hey, I sleep 5 hours, 4 hours. Like, I don't know how you function like that. Like, I will work every hour of the day. I have no problem doing that, from feet hit the floor till hop back in that bed. But like to get a good 7 or 8 hours of sleep every night.
I love it.
Yeah,
Mark, you
I
got
aspire
any?
for that. No, that's all I had for him.
Coach, well, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us on the College Baseball Show. We talk about it every time, like how much we are appreciative for all of you, every single coach that comes on and just takes the time to let us share their stories, let us share about the upcoming season. Like we find it a privilege and to be blessed to be able to do this. So we're just really appreciative of you all.
You got it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you.